A 28-point lead against the Clippers on Saturday, but that all went away when Kyrie Irving left the game near the end of the half with a sprained right knee. The Clippers won by 11 points, and Boston was booed off the court by their fans. This follows the Celtics losing an 18-point lead to the Lakers in the previous game. The Celtics are currently the 5th seed in the East. Marcus Morris said after their most recent loss, quote, "When I look at us, I see a bunch of individuals. It hasn't been fun for a long time." Some interesting words there. Greg, what do you think the biggest problem with the Celtics is?
Biggest problem with the Boston Celtics is Kyrie Irving.
Ooh. Wow.
Kyrie Irving. And this is not a shot at Kyrie Irving.
What is it?
Sounded like it.
What is it?
Sounded like it.
You say it's not a shot.
It's not a shot at Kyrie Irving because statistically he's having an unbelievable year individually. But when you look at the Boston Celtics, you look at how they're made up, their DNA, their makeup. Brad Stevens is the biggest asset that they have. Although Kyrie Irving is as electrifying, as exciting, as stellar as he is on the court, he takes away from what everybody else does. He doesn't complement everybody else. When you look at their success last year with Kyrie Irving off the court, the ball popped, it moved around, they went through one another. There was no animosity. I shouldn't even say it because I don't believe that there's animosity, but there wasn't any individual play. There wasn't any ISO ball so often. Every blue moon you might see Jason Tatum take a guy one-on-one and he get a couple buckets. But for the most part, the ball moved around the arc, through guys cutting through the lanes, Brad Stevens drawing up some fantastic sidelines and baseline out-of-bound plays to get them easy buckets. It's not coming as easy as they once did last year. And when you look at everybody else's statistically, they're down, with the exception of Marcus Morris, the one who said it. He's up. He's trending up statistically. So everybody's numbers have had to decrease because of Gordon Hayward obviously coming back, trying to find his way. He's not even himself, a shell of himself. And I think that with him getting better, we'll see what they look like. But right now, Kyrie Irving is the odd man out. It looks great because of what he provides offensively. And from a fan's perspective, he's exciting to watch. He has everything that you want in a player. But for the Boston Celtics, they are the New England Patriots of the National Basketball Association. They have their coach in line, fundamentally sound, concrete. Everybody else can be role players.
That is such a stretch, please.
All right, look, that's not a stretch at all.
It is a stretch. They haven't won Jack, and
did they make the playoffs without Kyrie Irving last year?
Half the league makes the playoffs.
Oh, yeah,
Except for the Lakers.
Exactly.
All right, Greg, look, you obviously made good points about the style of play with Kyrie versus without Kyrie and all that. And his presence, him returning from injury, has created some of these issues. However, here's why he's not the problem, and he's really a big part of the answer, is that without Kyrie, they can make the playoffs without him. They can even go fairly deep, but they can't have a hope or a prayer of winning a championship. And now that the East is improved with Milwaukee getting so much better, Philadelphia now being stacked, Toronto getting better with Kawhi Leonard, they can't even reach the finals without Kyrie Irving. All right, Danny, and that's why Danny Ainge, even with all the hints, Kyrie kind of backing off saying, I'm planning to stay here. Even with all that, Danny Ainge is still all in on keeping Kyrie. And he's also all in on going after Anthony Davis. Why? Because he understands Kyrie Irving is a superstar. And while we could be good, really good kind of, without Kyrie, we can't be great without Kyrie. And obviously in Boston, it's about being great and winning championships. Danny Ainge knows every one of those 17 championships they had a superstar leading the way. Danny Ainge knows that in the entire history of the NBA, only twice, 2004, the Detroit Pistons.
One of the greatest teams of all time.
1979, Seattle Supersonics. Those are the only two championship teams in NBA history who weren't led by a superstar. So he knows, look, I get it. The chemistry's a little shaky. Guys are in their feelings. But Kyrie Irving has to be here to stay because if we want to win again, it's with him. Now, quickly to your point, you're right about the players. Jason Tatum, in the playoffs without Kyrie last year, 18 points. This year, 16 points a game. Jaylen Brown, in the playoffs without Kyrie, 18 points. This year, less than 13 points. He was shooting 15 shots a game. Now he's at 11. He was getting 32 minutes. Now he's at 26. Terry Rozier, this is the biggest drop.
Yes.
16 and a half points without Kyrie in the playoffs. 9 this year. 14 field goal attempts. 8 now. 36 minutes. 23 now. So you're right. That's where Marcus Morris is saying we're individuals. We're not having fun. I get it. If I was Terry Rozier, I wouldn't be having fun either. And he and Kyrie, I think, are friends. But he's dropped 13 minutes a night. He's not getting the shots, and the same with the other two. So that's the problem in Boston. But Kyrie, if they can, he's a keeper, and you maybe move some of the other guys.
Finally, Chris, very nice, Greg. I don't know what you're talking about. Because here we go. This is the thing that's so crazy. The kids, you all bent out of shape, that they're not getting their points or whatever. Those kids wet the bed in Game 7 against LeBron and the Cavaliers. Because if Kyrie was on that team, Chris, they would have won that series and gone to the NBA Finals. That's the difference. And then when you talk about Marcus Morris, like it's not fun and individuals, when Kyrie came back after he was injured and missed some games, they won 10 out of 11. In the 7-game stretch, Kyrie averaged almost 30 points a game, 10 assists, shooting 47% from 3 and 53% from the field overall. So I don't know how you could play any better. And when you, of course, lose 2 star players in Hayward and Kyrie, yes, there were no expectations. Hey, just play, just go out there. It's much easier to play with that. But if you're talking about trying to win a championship, you gotta have the big guys. He just told you. You will not. Danny Ainge is not dumb. He understands. You won't win. You won't sniff a championship. Last year, oh, look at this team. Unbelievable. Missed 27 3-pointers in Game 7 at home against the Cavaliers. Why? The moment got too big for them. Kyrie's won a championship. He's averaged 30 points against the Warriors in the finals. He's the guy you need in those moments. So he's not the issue. It's about those younger guys trying to fit in and understand Kyrie's the main guy. We got to get what we can get and play with them, not looking at just because their numbers went down. Are you winning or not? And that's really what it's about. It's not about just your numbers. So I don't think Kyrie's the issue here. I believe it's just the other guys have to learn.
And so with all of that, I'm not saying Kyrie isn't a special player, and they don't.
You said he was the problem.
He is the problem.
He isn't the
because
problem.
It's two different
Well,
things.
I think the question for you, Greg, is this. Okay, because we both kind of admitted, look, his presence
Changes
has created
things.
these issues.
Yes.
But if you're Danny Ainge and you had to get rid of some of those role players who, maybe will be better in the future, or Kyrie, which one you looking at getting rid of?
It depends on what you're trying to do.
It doesn't depend.
Well, you're trying to win a championship.
You're trying to win. I'm with you there. You need a guy like Kyrie on your team, on your roster. But for this team, I got a better question for you guys. How do you think Brad Stevens feel?
Well, I'm glad you brought him up. Okay, Brad Stevens, Rob and I have talked about it a lot. This is a test for him.
It is.
Because if you look at his pedigree, played Division III basketball, I think started coaching at that level, goes to Butler. You're not getting the superstars at Butler. You're getting 2-star, 3-star recruits. So he's the little engine that could coach. Even when he got to Boston, you didn't have any superstars when he got there. He turns Isaiah Thomas, who had been, a sixth man, into this MVP candidate last year. No expectations, no superstars, and we go far. Now, in the NBA, that's nice. That's a good coach. But can you handle superstars? Can you handle egos? Can you bring the locker room together when you've got 1, 2, 3 stars and then everybody else?
And
that's the challenge. And we're seeing if he's up to it.
How did Brad Stevens always lose in college? To teams with better players.
Right.
So you can bring those young guys along, but always he gets derailed at the end, because the other coach has a star player and you don't. It's the same thing in the NBA. You can't win with those young guys without having a star.
I disagree. I completely disagree with what the Boston Celtics showed me last year. They are an effective team and can go deep into the playoffs. And you guys say
not in this Eastern Conference.
But that's not the goal either. I agree they can be a good team.
It's not the goal. Team. But you give Brad Stevens 2 years. I'm not saying eliminate Kyrie from the equation right now. I'm not saying that. But if they want to get better, they are going to have to either find a way to play with Kyrie, his style and his way, and forego kind of what Brad Stevens says, because when you have a superstar, anytime you have a player that can make plays on his own, he's going to go anti-social versus what the coach is going to tell them to do every single time. He's not going to always be on cue and in harmony and in unison with what the coach wants, because he's an off-script guy. He can do it when the coach wants it. He can do it without the coach telling him to go get it. And that's what Kyrie Irving brings. That's what these other guys weren't accustomed to. In the playoffs, they got accustomed to, look, guys, let's just run the play. Let's run through one another. Let's support. Let's build each other up. Let's make each other better. Now we're standing here and we're kind of watching Kyrie do his thing, and if he's ready to give us an opportunity, we better be ready.
So you mean, in other words, they're playing NBA basketball, which is what most players have to do. In LeBron's system, it's the same exact thing. This is how you have to play that game. When you have that big guy, everybody stands around and watches at the end. That's just how it goes.
Kyrie was right. It's ironic he talked about calling up LeBron, because this is exactly what was happening in Cleveland. It was that LeBron show, and everybody else had to fit in. One of the guys that Kyrie talks to a lot, Kobe. Similar things with Kobe, with the other guys having to watch him do their thing. That's why it's tough